Ma'am, you do realize you just reported the head of code enforcement to himself? The silence in the office shattered like a dropped wine glass as Yvette's voice rang out across the room. I looked up from my turkey sandwich, still mid-bite, just in time to see her spin her monitor around. My name and address were right there, centered in bold on a flagged complaint accompanied by 37 attachments. The email read like it had been composed entirely in caps lock rage. A red circle was drawn around my trash bins like they were evidence in a criminal case. I wiped a bit of mustard off my chin and smiled. Oh, Deborah, you pastel-colored storm of entitlement. Most days I would have ignored a complaint like this, file it under neighborhood drama, and let it rot in the digital archives. I could have passed it to Mateo, our most affable field agent, and let it disappear into the slow churn of bureaucracy. But then I saw the signature. Deborah Whitaker. Chairwoman, Maple Glen HOA. That name carried the same weight as a thunderstorm rolling over a Sunday barbecue. Deborah had built her entire persona on the illusion of control. She was the self-appointed queen of Maple Glen, sworn enemy of anything not beige, level, symmetrical, or HOA approved. She was a tyrant in tasteful pumps. I hadn't heard from her in over a year. Not since she'd ordered maize. Mito removed the native wildflower garden in front of my home. I refused, citing local environmental conservation codes that, inconveniently for her, I helped write. She hadn't come back until now, and she didn't know I ran the department she was yelling at. Let me paint you a picture of Deborah Whitaker. Mid to late 40s, silver bob cut like it had a TSA clearance. Her wardrobe consisted exclusively of tailored slacks, color-coordinated blazers, and orthopedic shoes that screamed, "I own a label maker and will use it in court." She walked her fluffy Shih Tzu, Duke, at precisely 7 a.m. every morning, pausing only to snap Polaroids of any lawn crimes. Yes, Polaroids. Digital photos, she once claimed at a meeting, could be manipulated by foreign hackers. She was the human equivalent of a car alarm, loud, irritating, and triggered by a breeze. I scrolled through her attachments. She had taken photos of my yard from 3 different angles. A cracked sidewalk slab that had been there since at least 1997. A zoomed-in image of a plant peeking through blinds inside my home. She accused me of running an unlicensed composting facility which turned out to be a rain barrel partially obscured by a camellia bush. She wants a full property inspection, Yvette said, trying not to laugh. She says you're harboring aesthetic hazards. I spun in my chair slowly and nodded. Send Mateo? Mateo, our most laid-back field agent, wore floral Hawaiian shirts under his reflective vest and still called me chief, even though I'd asked him 100 times not to. But he was sharp when it counted. And I had a hunch that Deborah had just kicked a wasp's nest without realizing it. The next morning, Mateo pulled into my driveway at exactly 9:02 a.m. Clipboard in hand, sunglasses on, humming some 70s funk tune. I made sure not to be home. Optics mattered. According to his later report and the video from my doorbell camera, Deborah emerged from her house like a character in a courtroom drama. She wore a broad sun hat, held a 3-ring binder like it was sacred scripture, and was already talking before Mateo's foot touched the pavement. She's the reason I believe in reincarnation, Mateo would tell me later. Because that much entitlement has to be built over multiple lifetimes. Deborah led him around my property like it was a crime scene, pointing out imaginary violations with the grace of a prosecutor on closing arguments. But Mateo, ever observant, noticed something else. Her yard was too perfect. Like something to hide perfect. After finding absolutely no violations on my property, not even a misaligned garden gano, Mateo glanced over at Deborah's own home. He spotted a sizable shed tucked behind a lattice screen in her backyard. Out of curiosity, he said casually, "You have the permit for that backyard structure?" "The new one." Deborah froze, then launched into a speech about restoring a historic structure that technically predated current zoning codes. Mateo smiled, took a photo, made a note. By Monday, I had the full report. 0 violations on my property. But Deborah? That shed didn't have a permit. And that was just the tip of the iceberg. Want to audit her? Mateo asked during our lunch break. I leaned back in my chair. Absolutely. Yvette already had her property file pulled. It was thick. Over the past 3 years, Deborah had improved her property without a single permit. A garage conversion, a koi pond, a sunroom addition, and oh yes, a bathroom remodel that violated plumbing and stormwater codes. Almost felt bad for her. Almost. The next morning, I sent the formal notice myself. Impeccably worded. Polite. Laced with just enough bureaucratic venom to be unmistakable. At the bottom, Alexander Ramirez, Director of Code Enforcement. She didn't call right away, but when she did, it was everything I'd hoped for. Code Enforcement, this is Alex. A pause. Then, in a voice as thin as tracing paper. You're the one who… Yes, Deborah. I run the department. I received your complaint. We'll be inspecting your property this week. I could practically hear her soul leaving her body. What followed was a 3-day spiral of emails, phone calls, threats, and a furious letter to the mayor's office. She claimed Mateo trespassed. She alleged property harassment. She accused me of weaponizing municipal procedures. Yvette printed all of it and filed it under a new tab, Deborah's downfall. The mayor eventually called. I let it go to voicemail, then returned the call after my lunch break. Alex, my man, Mayor Fletcher said in that used car dealer voice he wore like cologne. We've got a situation here. She's claiming harassment, he said. Says you're targeting her. Think maybe you could let this one go? Ease the tension. Are you making an official request to interfere with a lawful audit? He paused. No. Just asking. If you are, I'll need it in writing for legal. Mayor Fletcher sighed. You're killing me, Alex. No, sir. I'm just enforcing the law. Deborah's property audit happened 2 days later. This time, Mateo came prepared. Full inspection protocol. A checklist the length of a CVS receipt. Deborah met him dressed like she was heading to court. Crisp shirt. Sharp pants. Binder now exploding with post-it tabs. Her smile was razor-thin. This inspection is retaliatory, she claimed. Mateo smiled. Then I'm sure everything will check out. He checked everything. The unpermitted shed. The koi pond with unregistered electrical wiring. The bathroom venting directly into the attic. The garage with no fire-rated drywall. Deborah tried to argue. The koi pond was solar-powered. The gazebo was temporary art. The garage was a meditation space. Mateo took photos. Documented everything. Back at the office, I read through his report. Violations galore. Yvette walked in, sipping coffee like it was a drama series. She's gonna blow a gasket. She already did, I said, pointing at Deborah's latest email sent to the mayor, city council, 3 news stations, and a lawyer she claimed was her cousin. Subject line. Witch hunt in Maple Glen. Yvette laughed so hard she spilled coffee on her keyboard. Over the weekend, something incredible happened. Anonymous complaints started rolling in out from Deborah but about her. Neighbors who had been too scared to speak up now had evidence. One claimed she fined them $200 for mismatched Christmas lights. Another said she spray-painted a warning on their fence. A third called her behavior discriminatory. And then Yvette uncovered the bombshell. Deborah had never legally filed her HOA authority with the city. Meaning? She had no actual legal authority. Every fine she issued? Invalid. Every notice? Worthless. On Monday, I sent it all to the HOA Regulatory Board and dropped an anonymous tip into the Maple Glen Facebook group. By Wednesday, a special HOA meeting was scheduled. The neighborhood was finally waking up. And Deborah was about to go down. She tried to control the narrative Facebook posts in Comic Sans with gavel clip art, bizarre rants quoting the Constitution, even scripture. But the screenshots circulated faster than she could delete them. The HOA board turned on her. A vote was scheduled for her removal. She responded by taping flyers to every front door at 5:30 a.m. The day of the vote, the community center was packed. Deborah stood at the front, clipboard in hand, face carved from ice. The vote? Unanimous. She walked out without a word. No speech. No tears. Just silence. That night, Maple Glen was quiet. No clipboard patrols. No barking from Duke. Just a calm nobody had felt in years. I returned to my office, sat at my desk, and framed the original complaint. The one with the red circle around my trash bins. A reminder that sometimes the biggest battles start with a misplaced garbage can and end with a tyrant unseated by her own obsession with control. And the flamingo? Still proudly standing, slightly tilted, in my neighbor's yard. A new HOA rule. Flamingos allowed. Especially when they're facing the sun.